The videos of the interviews that we had to watch for class were very helpful for me. I really found them to be a good example of what to do and what not to do. Speaking of what not to do, the first two interviews I believe were kind of just examples of exactly what not to do. For example, my notes from the first interview have that I really felt like the whole vibe of the interview was just unpreparedness and unprofessional ism. So definitely in the beginning, the interviewer was very unprepared and unprofessional. She seemed kind of scattered in the brain and didn't seem like she had everything very organized. Some of her questions were very broad, almost too broad, where it kind of was just like, you know, it's hard to answer a question that's just such a blanket question. Um, so after that, it kind of, after asking these broad questions, she found out that the interviewee that she had contacted was not the right person that she should have contacted. She didn't do enough research and just thought, hey, I'm going to interview somebody at the University of Florida connected with the agriculture department, and they'll know about olive trees, which that was not right to assume that. Obviously, she contacted a professor that um, is in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, yes, but she deals with AEC department, Agricultural Education and Communication, and not olive trees. She was definitely not a specialist on olive trees. So because of that, it kind of made the interview a waste of time, not only for the interviewer but also for the interviewee, which is sometimes perceived as rude. A lot of times, professional people just don't want you to waste their time. So moving on from the broad questions and the lack of research, she just kind of moved to like maybe improvising. And by trying to improvise and just ask about olives just to get something out of the interview, she moved on to a very inappropriate topic of alcohol. She was asking the interviewee, did she like olives in her drinks, like alcoholic drinks, which is not professional at all. Um, that could, like I said, kind of becomes inappropriate in a way, especially you don't know if that professor, maybe is sober or something like that, and it's not an appropriate thing to ask in a professional setting. So that was inappropriate. And then following that was not very, on topic. The interviewer did not stay on topic for the topic that she had picked. So that again was unprofessional, and just she didn't have in general good, clear, concise questions to ask that were easy for the interviewee to answer. A lot of times for an interviewee, it's nice to even come prepared with a list of questions that they can review the night before or just sometime prior, because it is hard to come up with answers to questions right off the top of your head, especially when you don't know what they are. So broad questions that are unprepared really make it hard for the interviewee as well to give you the quality information that you're looking for. So to circle back around about that interview, in general, it was just very unprofessional. Her attire was unprofessional with the hat on. That's something that you don't want to do. And just in general, it was just a very unprofessional interview that if she had prepared and done the right research, could have gone completely differently and been very good. So moving on to the second interview, one thing, like the first thing off the bat for this interview that was not good was the fact that the interviewer was late. And she was very late to the interview, which is not professional. Things happen in everybody's life. However, if you're asking someone to do an interview with you, I believe that it's best to be on time. That's the most professional thing. That way people don't feel like you're wasting their time, as mentioned in the previous video. But because she was late for the interview and was making the interviewee wonder, what's going on, that made the interviewer very nervous and frazzled. That's one thing. If you're going to be late for something, it's not great, but at least you can come back and say, thank you so much for your patience. I apologize for my lateness. And be professional about it. However, she came and was very, very frazzled and then moved right on into venting about her stressful day. Another very unprofessional thing. Everybody has bad days, and it's one thing if it's a friend or a close colleague that you're talking to and you just have to vent for a minute about it. that's fine. But when you call a meeting with somebody to interview them, especially something that you don't know, it's never a good professional thing to just start venting about your bad day, no matter what has happened. Um, Moving on from that, again, she was wearing a hat, so that attire just wasn't very professional. And clearly, throughout this entire interview, of interview number 2, you can tell she just wasn't prepared. She wasn't organized. She could have done things a whole lot better. Um, so that's something that needed to be improved on. Also, she goes about, again, complaining about her bad day in school, continuing about that, and then it's about halfway through this that she finally starts asking anything relative to the interview. However, she did this very poorly because she was so unprepared that she forgot who the interviewee was. So she asked the interviewee who she was and what her title was and all that, which I thought was terrible. I know personally if somebody tried to interview me and they forgot who I was, or, not even just forgot my name, but the fact that they forgot who I was and why they were interviewing me, I would be probably kind of hurt by that. I definitely would not be impressed by it. That's for sure. So, just being unprepared and unprofessional can really just ruin an interview. Asking the interviewee what the topic was and forgetting the topic and questions and who you're even interviewing, that's kind of a rough thing. So I definitely think that's something she could have improved upon. I also noticed that the interviewer said a lot of ums. Again, making it seem like she was very unprepared. So, moving on from forgetting the topic and questions and who she was interviewing, she then just kind of throws away the idea of the interview altogether and just starts talking about rumors and gossips. She then brings up a rumor about a situation that is very, very inappropriate and personal, and I would even say off limits. She started asking about a faculty member that might have financial issues. And asking the interviewee if she knew who that faculty member was and what the thing was. That's absolutely inappropriate. I would definitely say that is one of the most unprofessional things you could do. First of all, the interviewer called this interview so she could pick the brain of the interviewee, get to know about the topic that she was interested in, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was olives. So to move from something like olives to a rumor about somebody in the department having financial issues, that definitely is not a good thing and not recommended in any interview. Again, she just does not stay on topic. It ends pretty abruptly. I don't know if that was just the video being cut off or whatnot. But it just overall just was very inappropriate and unprofessional and really just a giant waste of the interviewee's time and the interviewer's time. So just a waste of time in general and a waste of an interview. Moving on to the third interview video. This one I definitely would say is by far the best. The interviewer was on time. She was very prepared, had very good questions, and was also professionally dressed and dressed well. You could tell that she put some time and effort into this, and even though it might have been over Zoom, which is easy to show up in your pajamas or something, you could tell that she really put in some effort to make herself look good and professional, just as if she was doing it in an office. So, one thing that she did that the other 2 interviews did not have happen was she introduced herself, and she introduced herself in a very good manner. Was very professional. It showed that she did her research on the interviewee. She came in, like I said, she knew what position and title, but just to make sure that she had everything correct in her files and in the video, she asked the interviewee, about her new position that she was being, the interviewer was interviewing the interviewee about. She asked about that. She also asked if recording was allowed, which I think that was a very good thing because it is good to get people's permission and have them sign off on being recorded. So then it moves down to she confirms also how to spell her name and her official title. That way there's no incorrectness in it, which I believe is a very good and respectful thing to do. Also, she, as mentioned before, she came with very good, just prepared questions. She did her research. The questions were all very clear and concise. And because of that, because she had the good, clear, prepared questions, the interviewee could answer very well. She answered everything with information that will help the interviewer, prepare her project. Again, the interview had very good, just awesome, thoughtful responses to everything that the interviewee said. When she was talking about her new job title that she just got promoted to, she congratulated her on it. Just things like that are thoughtful and very professional to do. All the questions and everything that came out of the interviewer's mouth was all relevant to the topic. And really just everything about the interview will contribute to a good article, a good solid article, and was not a waste of time. All in all, these videos of interviews are very helpful. As I mentioned earlier, they really were a good guide to see what to do and not to do. And maybe the first two were a little bit exaggerated on what not to do, but it still was good pointers of how just little things like, being late and frazzled to an interview, how big of a difference that can make, and how it can just set the tone and just kind of make everything go bad from there. So I appreciate being able to watch these videos. As I mentioned, they were a big help. Thank you.